And that was it for our meta breakdown. And now for the wildcard segment, we'll actually be jumping into an interview with one of the top 2 placers. So Leenoco, you're welcome to join us over at table 1, and we will have a chat with Bromley on fun stuff himself while we see, how he felt, how he did about the last 1K, and all his takes on the game. So let's get that in real quick. We can unmute and deafen ourselves. All right. Hi, Bromley. How you doing?
Man.
I don't know if you're going to put your face cam on or not. You're welcome to let me know if you are.
Yeah, just give me a second.
All right. Not a problem.
It's okay. I've got Espira in stereo right now. I'm trying to fix on my end.
Yeah. So the way I do is I muted you, like for myself. And
that
then,
makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So much. I mean, I love 2 Espiras, but...
All right.
There we are.
Also, do you prefer being referred to as Unfun Stuff, Bromley, Chris? What works for you?
Bromley's fine.
Bromley? All right, cool. So, Bromley, how you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. I had a pretty hectic day, but I got to slow down and build a deck real quick, and gonna go 0-3. It's gonna be great.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
The dream. So for those viewers who have never come across your content or what you do, how about you let the people know who you are?
My name is Chris Bromley. Some people know me as Bromley. I know, very difficult to discern the difference between the two of those two things. I have a YouTube/Twitch channel called Unfun Stuff, where we talk about all things UFS and My Hero. We've been playing, and I say we, it's me, Chris Bromley, and my good friend Phil Birch, who's a world champion in the game that was Universus, right? So he's a very good player and a sweet friend. But we put up podcasts when we feel like it. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. And we talk about the game. Sometimes I put up deck lists and how-to videos. And we put out just the classic content that people love to see, like tier lists and deck lists and how to beat coordinated effort and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I've been playing the game since 2018. My Hero, of course, I've been playing since 2018, of course. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like to play kooky control decks. That's my passion. So you guys probably may have seen me playing over the weekend at that 1K playing Todoroki. People love to see 50-minute games. We love those.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So actually that's a good starting off point. Of course, again, congratulations on your second place finish at the at this first 1K. It was absolutely fantastic watching you run from start to end. And then was that what gravitates you towards playing a deck like Shoto, being a bit more of a grinder, controlling your matchup and kind of like dictating where and when your opponent can play certain things?
So I don't have too many cards right now, actually. I'm still waiting. Actually, I just got my notification that Jasko sent out my case today. So I've just been riding along with what Jose and I bought in the first few weeks of play. And singles and stuff like that. I mean, we have most of the things we need. It's just so I played a lot of Jiro. I played a lot of Shigaraki. Of course, I played a lot of Kirishima because you want to understand the best deck in the format. I still think people are not playing it the best that they could, but I know that I don't like it. I think the card movement is cool, but I think it's inherently kind of boring because it ends up being kind of solved, right? And so I've played Jiro in a few of these weekly sort of things. I played Shigaraki, and both of them can definitely take games off of Kirishima, but it's not favored. So I kind of went into the nitty-gritty details and I looked at stuff and I said, well, how do we beat that character? And Water has all the right tools for the job. Being able to seal coordinated effort is the biggest strength that it has, right? Because Kirishima doesn't have very good options without his engine running, you know. And coordinated effort is 100% of it. Hardened jab is a big part of it, right? And so I looked at Todoroki being able to cancel and enhance on my opponent's turn, and I looked at is it irrefutable force of nature, and I said this is a great combination. And then beyond that, I dislike card pool clearing in general, and coordinated effort, of course, is one of those things. But I also look at Asui, I look at Uraraka, I look up at characters like that are clearing their card pools, and I think that's super annoying because I have to play my super fair game play where I have to like 4 attacks, and it's on a 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. And they're just like, here's a 5 diff into a 3 diff into a 4 diff into a 4 diff into a 4 diff into a 4 diff, and I'm like, no, stop that. So I shoved 4 sticky balls into my deck, and I said, no, play a fair game of UFS, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so
he did yell at people to eat his sticky balls.
Eat my sticky balls. Yeah. So I think that Todoroki himself is actually quite bad. And I've said that everywhere. I think that he functions in a state where he cannot kill you on 2 because every one of his attacks are +1 difficulty. He has to commit an extra foundation in order to give them meaningful stats. And early game, he doesn't have any meaningful stats because it's dependent entirely on his large discard pile. So you have to play a bigger deck, which implies that you will have less consistency. You won't see all the same cards that a 50-card deck is going to be playing. But if you get to the point of the game where you do have a 40-card discard pile, and you do have 16 attacks in your yard, and you do have 3 throws to throw your opponent, they're just dead a lot of the time. And so it sort of it's like this like intersection point where you can cancel big enhances, right? There's lots of decks like Home Run Comic Jiros that can't kill you without their big enhance. There's, you know, being able to cancel Hardened Chops, rebuild, things like that. And his controllability combined with his access to the water symbol with really powerful combinations like tape and plus ultra, right? Just having tape and plus ultra means you auto block something, you know. Wall Cling is very, very good into tape swing decks, you know, and then he also has sideboard options, right? Todoroki is really, really terrible into Aizawa. You just don't get to play the game against Aizawa, but you can sideboard into Kamui Woods or Sero because a lot of the water, you can put any water character in your sideboard and it would work just fine because the range package is just that good. I didn't have access to the DLC cards, but I do think Todoroki gets much, much stronger with those, as well as every other water character. The Asui 2 attack is just nuts. It's so crazy. It's oftentimes coming in for 10 plus damage with very low effort, you know, and it only gets better with more, you know, more of them in hand. Right. Sorry if that was a really long explanation.
No, please. It's very insightful. You know, you broke my heart a little bit, but I think that is a reality that you have to face.
Well, so here's the thing. With My Hero, there's a lot of, I would say, middling characters, okay? Right. I think that most of the roster is quite, like by the comparison of, like, looking at UFS standard, right, the characters are not nuts, and that's a good thing, right? The format needs to start from somewhere. UFS had been around for 15 years, you know. So I don't say bad in that I think that it's a terrible character, no one should play it. I wouldn't be piloting if I thought it was absolutely, you know, ass. It's just he's very one-dimensional. I cannot kill you on 2, you know. And so, like, people who know the deck will play against it and say, oh, well, I'll just build 6 on turns 1 and 2 because you can't kill me, right? I'll hold my 1 block for your throw that you're going to be able to toss, but you don't have this the threat of dealing all that damage on 1. At least that version of the deck didn't, right? So like he has a weakness, and you know, as with any other character that you play, you know, you play around your weaknesses. You know, I built the deck to play around that weakness. I just think that, and I've felt this way for a long time, I think that most decks should have some capacity to be able to pressure an opponent on 2, and he just doesn't really have that going for him. So that's why I say he's weak. You know, he's not gonna be able to threaten Kirishima's life total on turn 2, and so if Kirishima gets really, really far ahead, you can get left in the dust. Same with any other character, you know, if Tokiyami or Denki or Asui or any other sort of aggro character. You know, I played into Shigaraki during the tournament, and I literally said if I didn't win the die roll, I'd lost that matchup. Because if the Shigaraki went first and got pressure on my board and on my life total early, I could not win. However, if I got the build for 2 turns, I was home free, you know. Luckily, I won every single die roll the entire day, so
pretty good.
That helps. That helped for sure when you're trying to scale. Yeah. So I'm not trying to break your heart or anything like that. It's just I'm also not trying to disillusion you and say, oh yeah, Todoroki is the nuttiest character. There's a lot of power in being able to cancel any non-character enhance. That's very, very strong. There's no way a Staff Strike deck beats Todoroki. I don't think it happens. You know. Right. So there's strength in that. You know. It's just I don't think he's a fully. Like he's not an all-around character, right? He does one thing and he does it very well, but that's the one thing he does.
Right, of course. So then I guess, you know, you're going to get your case and you're going to have access to your entire card pool at that point. In terms of exploration, you know, what would you look to try and find, you know, your other little niches in terms of what set one provides?
So I've played a lot of like funny like aggro decks. I think that the punch package is very fun. I have a friend, Devin, who's like been memeing at me. He calls it the Punch Planet deck, where he's playing like Tokiyami with Relentless Barrages.
Okay.
So like what the expanded card pool is really going to do for me is just like be able to play any deck. Like on Tabletop Simulator, I've built and played pretty much every character. But just like in real life, I don't have all of the tools to be able to do that in these weeklies. I play with what I have. Right. But like I really love Jiro. I think Jiro's super fun. I think she's got just like so many different avenues she goes into. I was really surprised playing against Tamron, his Uraraka list. I didn't give that character any credit really. I didn't like it. She's like a card pool clearing character that replays something once a turn. But he's doing a lot of like tutoring stuff like that. And he you know beat my brakes off and won the event. So obviously it was a good deck piloted by a good pilot. But tutoring is like my favorite thing in card games. I hate having to draw and like hoping to get an attack card.
Be at the whim of the top deck, right?
Exactly. I hate that. I've spent my entire UFS career trying to tutor my win conditions, you know? So the fact that that character does it is really interesting. I might do some time figuring something like that out or something like that. But Jiro does that too. You know, access to specialized sound waves is very, very strong. And just when you draw 6 cards in a turn, that also helps, you know, with consistency. Although I did have a Todoroki enhance where I drew actually 5 cards and all of them were foundations, and I was like, cool.
Woo, that's sick.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. We saw actually 13 cards across that turn, and one of them was an attack.
Awesome. You'll love to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, today I'm playing Denki.
Nice.
I've got Ida sideboarded. For like aggro matchups, but I think Denki's really fun. I think people are playing him. You can play him 100 different ways, which is a cool thing. On all 3 of his symbols, he's got viable options. He's a very, very, very strong wall breaker. I think if there was somebody that could beat my Todoroki deck, it would be something like Denki. I think too. You know, a lot of his eggs are in one basket, so you'd have to play around like the response. But a good player can do that, and I'm a good player. I can do that.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Awesome. So, you know, in terms of looking forward, you know, Crimson Rampage is on pre-order now and people are very excited for that. In terms of where the MHA format can evolve, is there any aspect, you know, in terms of maybe mechanics that are pulled from UVS standard, or maybe things that aren't really, you know, explored here in set 1 that you'd love to see going into set 2 moving forward?
So Stain's on the box art, right? And Stain has like 40 million swords and stuff like that. One of the things that I was really disappointed in the first set was like looking at Momo's character. That's a control character. She's like, and she tutors on her face, right? She grabs any weapon card from her discard pile. That's a character that I gravitate towards like naturally. But she's doing a lot of what I call cardboard capoeira, where she's moving cards around. Her card move is very, very attractive to me. But a lot of it just amounts to like +2 speed and +2 damage on like 2 attacks in a turn. So her stuff is not very threatening. And there's only 2 weapon foundations in the set. So what I would expect from the second set is perhaps we get some weapons that will make Momo more threatening, because people may not know it, but in standard, we had a tournament recently where she was banned because she's that scary.
Whoa,
with an expanded card pool. Absolutely, totally scary. Her ability to loop blocks and find tools is very strong, very powerful. That's a character that's only going to scale as the card pool develops, right? Because right now she's only got 2 weapon foundations, she's got 2 weapon assets, and her cards, right? She's very attached to Staff Strike, and as this game develops, that's a character that's only going to get better. So if you haven't bought your Staff Strikes, go get them.
Right.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna go get me some snap strikes. Hang on, guys.
yeah. But because Stan's on the cover, he seems to be like the highlight of the set. He's got tons and tons of weapons. I would assume they might share like a symbol or two. Maybe they don't share any symbols, and I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
like that would be really disappointing if he got a bunch of weapons, and and she's like, oh, I wish I could play those. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for a lot of just new stuff because we've been playing with things, and I love new things, love new toys. I want to play with as many different tools as I can. The DLC's coming out, give us even more things. It's all exciting and fun. But yeah, that's what I'm personally looking forward to, is hopefully some new toys for Momo, because I think she's an underappreciated gem of a character.
Yeah, we've seen her in one of the first couple of weeks of Wednesday Weekly, and while it didn't close, it did seem like a lot of options available. And I think for me, as well as a character, that's where or as a player, that's where I gravitate to. The character that gives me the most amount of options to be able to deal with whatever my opponent does at any point in time is hugely powerful. And like you were saying, basically, when you have a character that can tutor as much as she does, basically straight out of your discard pile, you effectively have two hands, where you have your actual hand and then you have your discard pile as a second hand. It's kind of why Kirishima is as strong as he is, because his card pool, or his stage, is basically hand number 2.
He is a stage hander.
Yeah.
He's a stage hander for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the once return enhance on Momo again is just as powerful as the best card in your discard pile, and that's a lot of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's played into that character knows that you can't really overextend, because she struggles to kill. She doesn't have a ton of damage on her in her kit. But if you disrespect her offense, she can just play 6 or 7 attacks and kill you, like through sheer volume, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would expect to maybe all gets a dunk, right? Jiro ends up being the natural inclination for people who want to play staff strike things, because she puts stats on things by existing, and your end of chain charge weapons get +10, and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So like we have that going for us. And I do think that there's a credible sideboard option for Momo to be in a Jiro sideboard. There's characters that she's just better into, and so on and so forth. But yeah, as it is right now, they share 2 symbols. They were designed obviously around each other because they're besto friendos. So it's cool. They're really great. It's really cool. It's just Jiro came out a little bit better than Momo did in the first set, and I'm sure that they'll both get better as the days go on.
Oh yeah, especially since Momo scales with the card pool, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And like Kirishima too, like maybe we'll see a bunch of tools that deal with Kirishima, or allow other characters to get onto his level of play. Because that's really the problem, is his support is like on a tier above everybody else's. The character himself, I don't think, is that much better than the rest of the characters in the format. It's just that he has his engine that's so well oiled. He's got this Ferrari engine, and everybody else is sitting around and they're like Toyotas and they're Civics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and they're like, woo, yeah, look at me, I special tuned mine. I put a turbocharger. Just like, dude, this is a $500,000 car. I didn't need to do anything to it. I just shove 4x of every one of my cards in. I'm there,
Yeah, absolutely. Leenoco, we are grinding down on time. We do want to make sure that Bromley over here has time to be able to get into his first round. Do you have any questions for our boy before we give him the send-off?
Nah, I just hope you have the best of luck tonight, and do what you can. Make sure Denki gets shown off pretty well.
Yeah, dude.
Try and go undefeated as always.
Oh, we're gonna try. And I'll be streaming at twitch.tv/unfunstuff if anybody wants to watch me try to kill people.
Yeah, definitely go check that out, guys. On Fun Stuff, you guys can see it on the screen, and we'll have it up in chat once we get into our round 1, if you guys want to see gameplay. Bromley, any last shout outs, anything you want to say before we send you off?
No, just it's so great that you guys are doing these streams. I definitely am not as active in the My Hero Discord because there's so much information. It's like overload. My brain gets saturated, but you guys do great jobs, and yeah, I'm just super hyped to be able to play as often as I get to because of these weekly events. So shout outs to Leenoco, who's super great doing all these things, and to you, of course, for hosting these streams.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. We want to give people as many chances to play as they can. So glad that yourself and other players can jump on that for sure.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us some of your time. And again, best of luck with your tournament run.
See you later, guys.
Take care.
Take care.
Awesome. Well, that was a great chat we had over there with him.
He's an excellent guy. Like, again, if you're not following him, make sure you guys go take a look on his Twitch. He absolutely does hilarious content. So,
yeah, I think it's a great. He's very entertaining to listen to. First off, I'm gonna say, but it's also very informative, right? It's that nice. It's that great balance between you know, being something that you could just watch for the sake of listening to Bromley talk, because he is so entertaining with the way that he expresses himself, but at the same time there's so much depth of knowledge. Like, I listened to his stream just yesterday that he had, and there were so many different aspects of the card game that he discussed that, like, I'm not even there as a player yet, you know, and these are things that I'm consuming. So it's fantastic. And once again, guys, you know, if you guys want to see gameplay directly from him, you guys should definitely go and check that out. Highly recommended for sure. It looks like players are actually jumping at their table, so instead of giving into a break, I think we're just going to jump into some gameplay.
as I say, I think the thing just popped back through.